What does it really cost to turn someone's body and their breaking point into entertainment? In today's episode, we take a hard look at what happens when hope, desperation, and a cash prize collide with reality TV. We're diving into Fit for TV, the reality of The Biggest Loser, a documentary about the seductive promises behind competitive weight loss and the dangers that come with dramatic weigh-ins and low-calorie diets. We'll explore how contestants were pushed beyond safe limits, emotionally manipulated, and placed in a system where suffering equals good TV. This free opportunity to get healthy turned out to be anything but, and the producers were experts at exploiting vulnerable people to make a quick buck off their broken metabolisms. Where does the concept of personal responsibility stop and corporate responsibility begin? You're listening to Real Stories, Real Problems with Rachel and Roxanne.
Hi, Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm good, except for the fact that we weren't recording the first part of this podcast, so we got to do it over again. I was just so excited to have one of my favorite people in the whole world, my friend Amy, come join us.
Amy, nice to meet you again.
Thank you so much, Roxanne.
Thank
And Rachel, it's so good to talk to you. I'm so excited. I'm still so pumped. In fact, I just said a second to go off air. Ooh, that sounded fancy. Whew. That I was so excited that I forgot to say, Rach, the little, this meeting is being recorded, did not show up. But we're all good. We're here now. And I have a million things I could say about this. And so there could probably be 20 podcasts about it. So it's all good. So here we go.
6 hours of this.
Absolutely.
100%. All right, people, buckle up because here we go.
Yeah. And Amy is joining us today because long ago in our early 20s, Amy and I were roommates for a few years. And every week we watched The Biggest Loser religiously. We tuned in every week because, and we talked about it in the recording nobody got to hear. We talked about that. We think it was because there was no representation of fat people on TV in any real way. There was Cameron Manheim, there was, being the fat friend, there was, on Jerry Springer, but by and large, fat people were not portrayed in any real or positive way in media. And The Biggest Loser was a place where you could see that and have that representation. And so we talked about how they were building this show with the intention that people would get healthier, that the producer, David Broom, told the story about he got a note posted outside of his gym from an obese person who said they needed help, please save my life and help me lose weight. And he used that as an inspiration to create this show with the intention of helping people. And so we got to see contestant audition tapes and see what people were saying when to get on the show. And we talked in detail about Bob and Jillian. And we talked about Roxanne and I had watched this together. And I had to pause it to tell her that Jillian is now a bully on Fox News. And, we talked about how Amy and I had been such big fans of Bob. Like, we really were Team Bob, even though now today that feels like gross.
You were young and foolish.
Yeah, we
Totally gross.
Yeah.
We were.
I feel bad. Everyone's having to get this little recap, but Rachel, you are recapping our untaped conversation so well. But oh my gosh, yes, that is like exactly what was going on. And I think we got swept up in The Biggest Loser tidal wave, which was, ugh.
It was an enormous show. Like, if people who were not alive or watching the show at the time really cannot understand what a juggernaut this show was and how much it captivated America. Employers created Biggest Loser contests at work to encourage people to lose weight to lower their health insurance rates. And they, like, every package, every scale, every dumbbell, every diet shake at the store all had Biggest Loser labels on it. And it was, it just was this force in American culture to be reckoned with. And from our perspective, like, we had talked about, this was the only time that we really saw fat people doing real life things.
Exactly.
There were characters in one of the seasons that fell in love, Matt and Susie. We watched their relationship blossom. And we got to see, people build these friendships and work together and try to what they thought was improving their lives work for better. And it was a positive place that we really didn't know we needed.
Yeah.
And
It is interesting. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
no,
Rach.
go right ahead.
Oh, it's interesting thinking back about it. You're talking about being a positive place we didn't know we needed. And at the time, like you said, there was nothing. And it just is so hard to look back on it now. Know that not only were all of those contestants being completely betrayed, being monetized, being used, and hurting themselves, really the general public, and especially people living in larger bodies, fat people, chubby people, whatever words you use, we're also being exploited and betrayed as well because you're now watching something that they're making mucho buco off of, and you think it's great entertainment because you're finally seeing someone that looks like you on TV. And unfortunately, it's just even all the more traumatizing, and we didn't even know it. We didn't even know
It's
it.
also,
And that's
I think,
so hard.
the nature of the business of television is, I mean, The Biggest Loser lasted 17 years. And every season, we got to do more. It's got to be bigger. It's got to be more extreme in order to get people to keep watching. It is the nature of the television beast, especially because reality TV was taking off and there was so much more competition with Survivor and Big Brother and all the confessional rooms and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
America's this and America's that, and
Right.
it was violent. The reality TV people were like, okay, so what if we did Lord of the Flies and we'll call it Survivor? And they're like, what if we did Lord of the Flies in a house and we'll call it Big Brother? What if we did Lord of the Flies with fat people? It was
100%. Because now we go from, like I was talking earlier before on the Unheard podcast, but how we went from the real world on MTV. I know all of you people under the age of, oh gosh, all of you youngins, you all have no idea that that's where reality TV started. So if you guys really want to know what it was, go back and find some of those because it's good stuff. But that at least people could leave. They were able to walk around and go to restaurants and leave and live their lives. And now let's shove everyone in a box. It's like, what is happening? And it was so crazy to me that here are these poor people, and there's so much going on in their mind. I can't even imagine the anxiety some of these people had too. One, you're on a TV show, that's scary. Two, you're away from your family, that's scary. Three, oh hi, your body that you live in every single day is being monetized and being ogled at by millions of viewers and your contestants. Oh, and how you're being yelled at by trainers. And the producers are just over there doing their thing, rolling in the money. And it's so many levels that it's mind boggling to me. And unfortunately, those people were there on that show every single day doing their best. And I think it was a matter of, this is what I'm doing, and I had to just buckle down and do it because what else can I do? It was mind boggling that this country, well, our country does the craziest things, but that this could be entertainment.
Yeah, it was so weird. And when you look at it from a modern lens, the abuse is so much more visible. Not only just in what you could see of going on with the contestants, like they put you in little bike shorts and the world's least supportive sports bra.
Yes.
Paraded your undressed ass in front of the entire country.
Yes.
And made you get on a scale that put the numbers were the size of the people. The huge numbers to reflect your weight. It was just vile. And then when you start to get into the stories the contestants were telling, because we talked to a couple of people in this documentary. Danny, who lost the most weight of anybody that had ever been on the show, he lost 239 pounds in just over 6 months. And Tracy, who showed up, she was on the show and was so badly injured that she had to be medevaced to a hospital. And they were talking about, if this doesn't heal, we have to cut your legs open and let them drain and go into this whole thing. And so they were dealing with the physical abuse of this. But then I caught something in the show that it kind of took me aback, and I had to think about it. Tracy talked in her interview about how when you auditioned for the show, you don't know if you're going to get cast. And they called you 24 to 36 hours before you needed to get on a plane and were like, okay, now you're on the show. Get on the plane and come out here. And so you had no time to call your brother-in-law, the attorney, and ask what you should be thinking about when you're signing these contracts. And you had no time to like think about, is this something I really want to do? You just had to go. And then Tracy showed up and they gave her the contract and she said, can I have an attorney look at this? And they said, you can, but we have 10 other people waiting to take your spot.
Oh, yes. I noticed that too. My little litigious soul saw that and I went, no, this is wrong. Not only is there no medical oversight, but there's no legal oversight. Oh, boy, that's asking for a lawsuit.
And in watching this, I kind of put together that they knew they were hurting people.
Absolutely.
The only reason you don't let people plan out, quit their jobs or ask for time off
I'll be gone for 15 weeks. Can my job be here when I get back?
the only reason you don't let people have attorneys go over the contract is because you know you are going to hurt them.
That's right.
And you don't want them to be able to sue you later.
Yep. It's such a mind game. You guys, I'm so glad you brought that point up because I had many jaw drops watching this, but that pricked my ears too. I'm going, wait a second. You know dang well their legal team is covering everything for them, but there's nothing to help these people. And what hello, these are not actors, folks. These are real people coming out of their lives. Now, in other reality shows often we know that lots of things are staged and these people kind of turned into like mini celebrities. But this, to me, Biggest Loser was very different in that these people came in as typical American Joe Blows and pretty much left as typical American Joe Blows and did not maybe get the celebrity like the people like, from like, the Kardashians and like some of the other reality shows. These people had to go back to their lives and pick up. Like you said, Roxanne, will the job still be there? I don't know. What about your kids? Are they suffering? All of these factors. And you've got 36 hours to decide, 24 maybe get on a plane? Come on now. And then that thing about, there's 10 people in line waiting behind you. So, that made me so mad.
Well, and when you think about like the way that people were treated on this show, they brought in Dr. Huizinga was the medical guy on the show, and he, for as best as I could tell, for the most part, was pretty legit. He was a doctor for the LA Raiders, and he had a lot of history working with people that are, 300-400 pounds and needing to do a lot of exercise because they're professional.
He's a sports medicine doctor, so he understood about stress fractures and
right,
things like that.
But I'm glad you brought him up, Rachel, because we hadn't mentioned him yet. And I was like, we got to get to Dr. Huizinga, but I've got lots to say about him, but can't wait to hear what you say.
The thing that threw me was they brought him in, and he was the medical guy, and he talked to the contestants about this is a healthy amount of calories to put in your body. This is a healthy amount of exercise to do. These are the choices you should be making. And then he would leave, and the trainers would come in, and fucking Bob and Jillian would be like, no, you're going to eat half the calories he requested. You're going to exercise twice as much as he told you to. And this is your choice. Like, you're choosing what to do, but if you don't do it the way we tell you to, you're going to get kicked off the show.
Prisoners of war get more nutrition than these people did.
Yeah. And my thought with that, of course, was one of several jaw-dropping moments. First of all, Bob and Jillian, why are we not respecting the medical doctor that, in all intents and purposes, has also been, quote unquote, tasked on this show that you all are being paid big bucks for? There's a reason he's here. There's a reason he's on. You need to give him, just as any other, hopefully, actor, quote unquote. Let's face it, folks, we're making money off of this big time.
And what bothered me, Amy, the most about the medical thing was that, okay, he weighed them and talked to them, but there was no lab work. They didn't check blood sugar levels or liver enzymes or cholesterol or triglycerides. There's a whole lot of shit going on inside your body that you can't see with eyes.
Yeah,
that really
100%. There was no control at all. There was no accountability. And here these folks are going in. And granted, we don't know every single little detail that happened behind the scenes, but for all intents and purposes, they are going in not knowing much of anything. And it's their health and lives. This, I think, is the first time we have seen, and I can't say for every single show in the whole world, but this is, I think, the first time we've seen on this big a scale, ordinary people going in and having their health be put on the line. Because, Super Size Me and all these other things came later. And like, this was a big deal. And yet we all sat there watching like little sheep, just drinking it up because we're dealing with our own trauma of, hey, finally, there's people being represented that look like us. And other people are just watching because, wow, look, it's so problematic. So problematic. But back to Dr. Heisenberg, I've got some thoughts on him, but I do think I want to believe he had the contestants, I'll call them contestants, the participants' best interests at heart. What do you guys think?
As best as I could tell, yeah, he wanted people to be healthy. He signed up for this with the understanding that he would be helping people lose weight, which in his mind, and for most people, weight loss was the goal to keep you healthy. And he really approached it from a holistic point of view. And when Tracy got so injured and was in the hospital, he was the one that was there with her, checking her numbers every 3 days and keeping her healthy. And like when she came back to the show, she followed his advice. And everybody treated her like she was just this monster because she wasn't cutting her calories so low. She wasn't exercising so much because she was healing from this injury. And they treated her like she just didn't want it.
Yeah,
It boggles
now. Wow,
Yeah.
what was up with that? I mean, I agree with Rachel. I think that he did have everybody's best interests at heart, but he didn't have all the information. He didn't
Right.
know that his advice was being, overridden by Bob and Jillian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think at one point in the documentary, he even said something like, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't realize that they were doing this and this, because I'm sure there was a certain amount of time when he was on set and doing what he did, and then he would leave. And it's like, you don't know what's actually being said and what isn't, and until you watch it later and go, oh my God, what has happened? You wonder, I would love, again, I said this earlier on I wonder now if we brought him back in his own little like raw tell it all, if he would say that he wanted to even be a part of it, knowing what happened. Because I feel like any doctor worth their salt would say, this is almost against the oath I took. The do no harm oath has been severely twisted here. And that was not his fault. Bob and Jillian came in and did it. And it just boggled my mind that two trainers, forget the exercise, the two trainers who claim they care about nutrition and know so much about it are telling these people to go against a doctor who has set up individual programs for each person. That to me is mind boggling. But we gotta make something that's gonna have everybody watching.
And the thing that they kind of address a little bit, but not really in the documentary, is that all of this is taking place with cash at the end of it. So Julian and Bob get bonuses if their contestant wins. So if the blue team or red team contestant wins, they get extra money. And every person there needs to lose the most weight because they need that $250,000 cash prize, which I get that. And at one point, there was a contestant named Rachel something, and she came back. She lost so much weight that you could see in the faces of the people, they were looking at her like she was Skeletor. She came on and she was basically nothing but bone. And everybody was like, oh my God, she took it too far. Of course she did. There's $250,000 on the line. Why would she eat anything but
Right.
water with lemon for weeks?
Right. Yeah.
And I thought
And
it
I
was
think
very telling that when one of Jillian's contestants won, the first fucking thing out of this vacuous twit's mouth wasn't congratulations or I'm proud of you. It was, you just got me $1 million.
Russian, when I heard that, and again, Jillian, of course, failed to grace us with her presence on the show because she can't be there. Oh, boo-hoo, sad, whatever. I again jaw dropped big time when I heard that. I was just like, wow, we know where your priorities are, don't we? Which also, there are so many layers to this whole phenomenon that is The Biggest Loser. we could talk for years and never uncover them all. But that is another layer that you just mentioned, Roxanne, is that, and Rachel, that money at the end. Not only the money for the contestants, which let's face it, $250,000 is a lot of money, especially in the early 2000s.
Oh, absolutely.
That could change someone's life, really, truly. But forget the weight loss. That money, that pot of gold at the end could change someone's situation. But then we're going to add in, oh, hi, Bob and Jillian. They want to help everyone and do all this. Mm-mm. No, they're there to make themselves famous and get a lot of money. Let's face it. Let's be real honest about that.
Yeah. And
They were early on in their careers and ready to make it big.
oh, yeah. And they talked to a bunch of the contestants that were on the show. They talked to Danny, the guy who lost a bunch of weight. And for anybody who hasn't seen the documentary, he has gained it all back. He said it took him about 9 years to gain back the 239 pounds. But at this point, he's over 400 pounds, just like he was the day he walked into that show. They talked to Joelle, who was she was one of the partner teams when they had the season where you had to come in with a partner, like a sibling or a spouse or whatever. And they talked to Suzanne, the woman who was part of the NYPD, and she was on the show. So they're pulling all these people and you're hearing their stories. And it was so interesting because so many of them still have like positive thoughts about the show where like there was a sister team.
Right.
What I don't remember their names.
Yes.
Here in the notes.
Oh my gosh.
The
You're
sister
just bringing up
team,
the thing that, oh,
they won first and second place.
Oh, the blonde ladies.
Yeah, the blonde ladies. They won first and second place, and they loved this show so much. One of them named her son after Bob. She named her son Harper.
yes. Oh my gosh. When I read that, or sorry, not read that, when I heard that, because I was really coming into this documentary, not knowing anything about it. I purposely went in blind because I just wanted to have a raw reaction. And I mentioned this earlier, but I literally was watching this like in the middle of the night with my wife sleeping next to me. And I was like, I need to not be making any noise, but this is making me so angry. My jaw kept dropping. And I know I was doing some, like, oh my gosh, like in the watching this. But that was another jaw dropping moment. 'Cause I was so disappointed, and I guess I need to be happy for them. I guess they did what they wanted to do, but even to this day, they're like, "We're so glad it changed our lives. We would never go back and do anything different." And oh, and we just love Bob. He's like part of our family. And my little guy, we named him Harper. How could you memorialize this person so much that you were passing a part of him onto your under your child?
As they're talking about what they're going through, these contestants are talking about they burned a minimum of 6,000 calories a day. They said, we did maybe even more than the military does in a day. Yeah, of course you did. Because that is 6,000 calories a day is insane. And then to not put any food in your body, to give yourself anything to run on, and you're
Right.
still burning those calories, that's so damaging to your system.
Right. I'm remembering it's funny talking about this again. I'm remembering some things from the show when we watched it, Rachel. And I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall some people like almost kind of sneaking back into the gym at like 2 a.m. to try to get more exercise in to get one up on their fellow contestants because they were so wanting that money and the recognition and that poundage to drop on the scale. And because maybe they didn't lose any weight the week before, and they felt like they were, their team was going to suffer because of it. There, again, so many layers. It's not just individuals. Now we're working as a team. We're working as the red team and blue team. We're working for $250,000. We're working for our own self-satisfaction, our family's love. I mean, it's so many levels. And there they are going back into the gym at 2 a.m. or getting up and doing sit-ups or push-ups or whatever in their route. Now we're going above and beyond to try to best or up the other people on the team.
So on this show, they did a lot of sneaky things, like not just the getting up in the middle of the night to work out, but I don't know if you remember this the way I do, but this is seared in my memory. They had things where if you won a challenge, you could be exempt from being removed from the show. No matter how much weight you lost, And so if people who got the exemption you could see them off like to the side of the stage just chugging water so that they would weigh as much as they could so that their next weigh-in would reflect a larger number. So they're doing all this stuff, and as part of this cacophony of evil, they start giving them caffeine supplements, not coffee, but it's called Stackers, apparently, is a caffeine supplement.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of back and forth about, well, we gave them one or we gave them, I don't know. I imagine that they were being fed these like candy. Like
Absolutely.
100%. 100%. Oh, Rachel, you just hit it on the head. And actually, I'd forgotten about the exemption thing. But yeah, I mean, that's so, again, taking from Survivor and all the other things that were going on at that time. All of them, well, you get to get the pizza or the stuff flowing in onto the island special today because you did such and such. All of that. And then, they're sitting there eating their pizza in front of these starving survivors. Same concept. Same concept. These people were already going through so much mentally and physically. And now you're dangling these carrots in front of them, like being able to call home or you're exempt from the weigh-in, but we're going to just chug a bunch of water to try and, and also, I don't know if this happened, but it may have. Again, it's a game. Let's say it's a game. And maybe some people might have even eaten more or whatever to try to weigh more and then lose more the next time. It's such a mind game.
Oh, do you remember at one point in this documentary, Suzanne, the woman who was the NYPD officer, talked about when she auditioned for the show, and her audition tape was nuts. She's standing in a bikini in like New York City in the middle of Times Square. She's flashing the camera through an overcoat with a bikini under it, making this big deal about, I'm willing to make a fool of myself in public for you.
Like in New York, anyone would even look twice.
No,
right?
I lived in New York City for years, and the number of times I saw crazy crap and it was just like, oh, look, that's New York.
Yes.
What can you do?
100%. Yeah, no, and like, again, that to me is just, now I'm going through all of these people where in your life that you are so disappointed in how things are that you were willing to throw away your self-respect on TV because you're so desperate for a change. And that is where my heart goes out to every single one of these contestants because they went into this knowing nothing, but also coming in with all of their, let's face it, their emotional baggage as well as their physical weight, if you want to call it that. The weight that they're bringing in emotionally trumps anything that's visible on a body. And I don't think any of that was taken into account by the show.
Something else I noticed, Amy, you hit it on the head there. There was no therapist, no psychologist. There was no psychological screening to see if any of these people had previously had an eating disorder, which
100%.
would have been triggered by this.
I just thought of that too, Roxanne, because I'm like, wait a second here. Again, we talked about earlier about lawyers and things and checking things. It's like, wait a second. What about the physical and mental well-being of these people going in? Was any of that looked at? I don't think so. What was looked at was who's the funniest on their audition tape, who's got the biggest number on the scale to lose, who's got the best story that's going to bring in the heartstrings. At the very core, these producers are used to casting characters. They are used to people coming in and playing a part. They know nothing about casting real people who are then playing, air quotes heavily, themselves. Totally different concept. Well, I thought of, go ahead, Rach.
Well, and one of the things that was addressed by Danny specifically, but I think all of the contestants would agree, is once the show was over and you had lost all this weight, they were just like, and go home. There was no aftercare. There was no psychologist to help you walk through that. There was no gently working you back into your life and helping you figure out how you're going to live a life.
Nothing.
Because the thing that nobody even thought about, I think, that was watching at home, was of course you can lose weight if your only job is to exercise and eat nothing.
It's a controlled environment.
But then you
controlled environment
and feed your kids and have a job and do the thing.
And be in the same environment you were when you got fat in the first place.
Right.
And then I gotta tell you, Amy, you probably don't know this. I haven't mentioned it to a ton of people except for Roxanne and my husband and stuff. But I've gone through so much weight loss, get healthy crap over my life. I've been on every diet. I was a vegetarian. I did low carb. I did keto. I did all of it. Nothing helped. And I got to a point like 6 months ago or so where I seriously thought I was dying. My joints hurt. Everything was so painful. I was so fatigued, and I was going to doctors and they were not helping. And I called you because my doctor was like, I want you to talk to a medical weight loss guy and see about maybe bariatric surgery because it's, and so I'm talking to people about this. And just accidentally during this process, I found out I'm allergic to gluten, and I removed the gluten from my diet. And at this point, I've lost about 25 pounds since October, making no other changes to anything because my system was so inflamed that I could not tell when I was full. I had no satiety signals. And at this point, I don't care how much more weight I lose or what. Like, that's not my goal here. My goal is to not feel like garbage.
Yes. No, Grace, you didn't tell me that. That's amazing. Oh my
It's
goodness.
amazing the change in her, not only her physical, she can get up without using a cane. She's sleeping better at night. She's more alert during the day. She doesn't look tired all the time.
That's
She's
incredible.
acting more. It's amazing. I love watching this change in her. I wish that she had realized this
Oh, yeah.
years ago.
And
Yeah, that is amazing, Rachel. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back because you talked about all the things you've gone through. We talked about that ad nauseum of the diets and the this and the that when we were living together all those years ago, because we both have been through it our whole lives. And that is so interesting that you came upon that. I'm so glad. It's funny you can talk about buzzwords, but gluten is kind of a newer buzzword that people are finally realizing my body feels awful. Why? And now they're realizing,
oh,
side note, go ahead. Yeah.
not one medical professional that I spoke to ever addressed this. I would go in and be like, my joints hurt and I'm fatigued and I cannot exercise and I cannot move and I'm starving all the time, no matter how much food I put in my body. There is something wrong.
Mhm.
And every one of them always told me, well, you should lose weight. Have you tried not being fat about that? Have you tried keto? Have you tried it? Yes, I've tried it twice. It does not work for me. There's something wrong. Nobody was willing to help me because they looked at my body as a problem that was of my own doing.
And Earl, we can have a whole other podcast on this exact subject.
Yeah.
That is, oh my gosh. I
And
think
so when I think about all these people who went on this show and were dealing, how many of them were checked for food allergies? How many of them were checked for other issues that were maybe causing or contributing to the weight gain? How many of these people were given proper medical care in a way?
Yes.
Probably none of them, because I could not get it. I advocate for myself in a way other people do not. And you know this about me.
Yes, I do.
And so if I, in all of that, could not get a medical professional, not one medical professional, to look at me and be like, let's assume you're doing the work and it's just not happening, and find another solution. How were these people who are cash cows for NBC or CBS or whatever fucking TV network this was,
CBS, I think it was, but whatever.
how are they being treated? It floors me.
Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. And again, I think that we have to remember too at the time, this is a while back, and but no excuses. No excuses. I think, like I said, gluten is a newer buzzword, and that wasn't maybe as much on the radar then, but that's just one tiny thing. There's a million things. My guess is they went in, the more obvious things are your basic form. What are you allergic to? What meds are you taking? Maybe they put that on there, probably not. And then, do you have any allergies? And boom, boom, we're done. No, folks. No, because we need a mental health evaluation. Roxanne, you said it earlier. Again, a whole other side topic, but the number of people who could have got in there with an eating disorder they knew about or didn't know about or were discovering. And then, let's think about the people who have eating disorders when they leave the show.
Yeah,
When they leave the show.
Now,
And like you said, Rach, no aftercare.
since both of you were faithful watchers and I wasn't at the time, did any contestant ever just leave?
So I have a story for you about a woman named Kai who was on this show, and they really edited her to look like she was an asshole. She would be in the middle of events where you had to go and exercise or whatever, and she would just walk it. She was not playing your game. She was done. Eventually, they kicked her off. And then she wrote a tell-all piece for crack.com of all
Oh
places,
my God.
where she talked about how they would have everybody around a kitchen table and they would be talking about the benefits of drinking milk, how milk was so good for you. And then they would turn off the camera and then the trainers would be like, spit it out. You can't swallow that. And like this kind of stuff, how they were, how abusive they were to the contestants, and how they all walked into this huge like warehouse full of cots and we're looking around at each other being like, this is it? We're replacing Frasier. Why in the world are they not spending any money on us?
It was like the army. It was just this bear.
Yes. Like that's essentially where they're sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, there have been a couple of contestants where they just, Joelle in the documentary is one of them, who ended up going to the New York Post along with a couple of other people to talk about the dangers of and bullshit of this show.
Oh, I would.
I will say
hours off that production. Absolutely.
totally brave. Like those women, I have so much respect for because, and that's amazing. And exactly what you're saying, that this has so many levels and so many layers of just, it's just icky. It's so gross to even think what happened to these people and what they went through.
No, but now would be a good time to talk about some of the things that Aubrey Gordon brought up in this documentary. She is one of my most favorite people. I love her so much. An absolute goddess of a woman. And she was the voice of reason in this podcast. Or not this podcast, in this documentary.
Podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast. She,
the voices of reason here.
but in this documentary, she was the one who talked about, they're using temptation as a language to explain like all the crappy food that they put out and give you if you'll eat a slice of pizza, you can call home and talk to your kids. That's not accidental. That the idea is that fat people cannot be trusted around food, and it's designed to push you to judge that contestant as a person. And she talked about how when Joelle and Carla were on the parallel bars, when Carla fell down, the camera jiggled and shaked to imply that she caused an earthquake because while it was good for TV, it was making fun of fat people. That was the primary, behind the scenes of this show. It was people are watching to make fun of fat people.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier about how we are turning regular people who have feelings and hearts and lives and all this into like circus, like almost harkening back to like the circus time where it was like we're watching people for entertainment. That's exactly what we're doing. And I mean, to me, it's hard with any of the reality shows because it's all kind of exploiting people. But this was next level. Then we are now exploiting people on things we cannot change. There's something I think that I think kids are told this, or there's something about where if a person can't change it in 5 minutes, then you shouldn't comment on it. And I find that rings really true with kids, helps them understand this is why we don't talk about other people's bodies. Came up today for me with one of the kids. I'm a preschool teacher. It came up today with one of my kiddos. I was teaching in the TK class with the older kiddos. And this little guy who I've known for a while, I taught him last year, sweetheart, looked up at me. This is KJ. That's what they call me. Why are you fat? And it was just absolutely, in that moment, it's hard. Roxanne's over there. I can see her shaking her head.
I still can't believe this is a thing.
I know. Earlier we talked about this, and I'm sliding this story back in just because it just brings around the full fact that people who live in larger bodies as such an oddity that there are children who ask people, come up to them and just very innocently ask, why are you that way? And I often wonder, would my little guy who I just love, would that happen? Would he go up to them? And kids are innocent. Maybe they would. Why are you in a wheelchair? Maybe they would. But the problem is, later on kids grow up and now we're still asking that question. Probably not of people in a wheelchair because we've been taught that's a huge no-no. But fat people, no worries. They're just open season.
Yeah, I mean, little kids ask me about why am I fat with some regularity. I have a little niece who that's been a recurring question from her. But also, like, I have a child, and when she was little, and she would ask, because kids ask, why is that man in a wheelchair? Or why is that, what's going on with that? We would talk about everybody looks different. Like you have curly hair and I have straight hair and daddy has no hair. We all look different. And that's okay. Like there's a wide variety of bodies and there's a wide variety of people. And you have to answer those questions for kids without being accusatory and making them feel shame for wanting to know.
Absolutely.
But it still is heart-wrenching to have something like that called out because society is so judgmental about it.
It really is. It really is. I remember the first time that was happening to me when I was dealing with living in a larger body as a kid myself. And being asked that question by another kid when you were also a kid is next level. And I will remember it to this day. We used to carpool and take these kids to school, and we'd all pile into our car. And I remember distinctly struggling in the backseat to put the flipping seatbelt on because, oh, hi, backseat seatbelts, especially back in the 80s and 90s, are tiny. They're like airplane seatbelts. And so I would sit there struggling, or I wouldn't buckle it and I just would pretend it was buckled. Rachel, you probably know that feeling where you buckle, you put your hand over the buckle. Oh, yeah, I'm buckled in too because people are waiting to drive. Oh my God, the embarrassment. But then this little kid turned to me and was like, why are you fat or whatever? And it just was so hard. I was in my sixth grade self, not knowing what to say to this child. And now it's so ingrained in the shame. I still, as a 44-year-old adult, struggle with how to answer when my students do the same question. And now we have people going on the show who probably have struggled with weight their entire lives and have traumas like we experienced, Rachel, going into a petri dish with no outside care, no mental health care, no medical screening, and they're being pitted like dogs or wolves against each other for a money prize, which could change people's lives, and trying to help get them healthy because we all think that losing weight makes you automatically healthy, which we know it doesn't. It's amazing to me that the show is even allowed to air. And for how many seasons? What was it? 17? What was it?
17.
17.
Well,
Thanks
and
God for Aubrey Gordon bringing in the fresh air. Let's get back to her.
thank God for her. And they were talking, these contestants, the show made a big deal about this is for getting people healthy. No, it wasn't. Because they
No.
had the sisters that I mentioned earlier that I couldn't remember their names, Hannah and Olivia. They each lost
Yes.
about 130 pounds in 6 months.
Mhm.
And they had this thing where they were talking to them in the show, and they were showing clips of these conversations. And I want to say it was Hannah, though I'm not 100% sure, but she did this like tearful, I can't date anymore because now I'm too fat. And in my current 43-year-old self, I want to be like, bitch, I dated like you've never seen. For the entire time that I was living in New York City, I met a man, got engaged, married him, I have a kid. Your weight was not stopping you.
I can attest to that. Oh my gosh, y'all. I was there for Rachel 2.1 or whatever you want to call it. Now it's 2.0. When she first moved to New York and she was like, yeah, and guess what? I went and did this and met this time. I'm like, what? Oh my God. New lease on life. But right. And then you did. You married amazing Ben. And then it boggles my mind. We're still people. We have some extra like body. We are still a human being.
But we
When
were
people
talking,
look at
we were talking in the part that wasn't recorded about how fat people aren't supposed to be sexual.
yes,
On TV, we were talking about this. You're never the love interest, or if you are, the guy or woman that you're with is also air quotes defective in some way.
yes,
You're that
yes,
quirky couple, you know.
right.
Yeah, and in
100%.
fairness, my husband and I are that quirky couple, but it's not about our weight.
Because you're fat. No, it's because you're you guys.
Oh my God. Y'all are the best. I love you guys so much. But that's so true. Like, I don't know if we want to go into this story again, but it made me laugh the first time. So I'll quick say it since we said it before. But like talking about like being the ingenue or being the funny friend and all of these things, like you were saying, Roxana, earlier on the Ghost podcast, we just call that. No, I'm kidding. You know, we fat people are never the ingenue. That's never going to happen unless you are a writer and writing about your life, or you are a friend of a person and writing about their life. It's going to be like an indie one-off, you know, totally self-funded project, probably, even in this day and age. Things are getting better, but not by much. And so when I was in high school, I was the fall play was coming up and we all auditioned and I was like, I don't want to do this. It was arsenic and old lace. I was like, I had never, really didn't know anything about it. And I was like, I just want Martha. That's the like calmer sister. She doesn't talk as much. Like maybe I could do that. I'd never had a lead role in my life. Sure enough, cast list gets posted. A couple of us went down and snuck out during our class to go see it. And I was cast as Abby Brewster, the lead. And I'm going, what? And my amazing theater director came and gave me a big hug. And she said, Amy, I picked this show with you in mind. And to this day, I could not be happier or more proud. And what I love about her is that I know she chose it genuinely because I never thought I was great, but she saw something in me. And her name's Mary, she's the kind of person who would never cast based on body or size or skin color or anything. I mean, she was a blind caster to a T. So I knew that it was because she thought I could handle the role. But let's face it, even with all of that, I still was playing the cute little old short kind of pictured little cute round auntie. If you watch the original show, right. If you watch the show, is it Cary Grant?
It was Cary Grant, right?
Cary Grant with Cary. Thank you, with Cary Grant. They just happened to cast this cute little short plump lady, and then the sister Martha was the tall thin one. So roundabout with that experience, it is so interesting because now we are in an age where people are trying to say things better, but I think they're scared of saying the wrong thing. And I think Aubrey Gordon kind of hit that on the head when she was like, we're coming at this in a lens now where we're looking at it with better eyes, but you got to realize just how messed up this was for the time and how it never should have happened. And I love how she just put such a frank light on it.
Yeah. And when you watched this show, it was obvious that if you wanted to be shown in a positive light as a contestant, you had to be perfect. You could have no faults, no flaws. With Tracy especially, she got hate mail because she would not work out for 10 hours a day after being hospitalized for being injured on the show. And when you look at like Kai, when she was talking about she was not going to play this game anymore, where they had one event where Kai finally was just like, no, I'm done. Mm-hmm. They made the contestants, the Biggest Loser contestants, run around a racetrack like horses.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Like the amount of weight they had lost, they put in like a saddlebags or like a wheel thing.
That's fine.
Like
absolutely psychotic.
And she was just like, no, you don't get to stand here and cast me as a 3,000-pound horse and make jokes about my size, and I'm not doing that. So if you gave any pushback to anything on the show, they made you out to be the bad guy of the show.
Yeah.
Every single one of these, like, you had to really make a huge deal about, oh my God, my life is so sad, I can't do anything. Suzanne, who, when she was on the show, they brought in a wedding dress and made her do this whole thing about, I can't get married until I weigh 130 pounds. I have to fit in this to get married. Girl, you had a fiance. He loved you with every pound on your body before you joined this show.
Absolutely.
So none of this is necessary.
Right. And it is so sadistic. That word just makes sense because they were trying to fit all of these vulnerable, let's just say it, vulnerable, maybe they don't qualify themselves as vulnerable, but they were vulnerable people in a situation in a TV model that does not work at all. You cannot shoehorn these people into the TV model of let's throw everybody in like Big Brother. Let's throw everybody in like, Real Housewives, any of that. Are there a lot of flaws in characters and things that are found out and made light of on those shows? Absolutely. But they are not coming in with that. They are not coming into the show with that the obvious thing that has already caused so much trauma in their lives. And that's where this show is so different. And to me, that's its biggest downfall. And yet, 17 seasons, people ate it up. And it just makes me so sad that that is what society at that time thought was big entertainment.
One of the people that was featured in this documentary was a woman named Jennifer Kern. She's a medical doctor. She has a MD in obesity medicine. And she
Hmm.
tells her story about why she was a contestant on the show.
Hmm.
Because she was in med school and she was going through all of the training. And at one point, they sat all the students down and made them watch mildly pornographic videos of people of all different body types,
Yes,
intimate situations. Because if you're going to be a doctor, you need to be able to handle somebody talking to you about, okay, so this weird thing going on with my sex life or this weird thing with my body. You need to be able to have that conversation. And so they showed
right.
having sex in wheelchairs and they showed people having sex with disabilities. And when they showed a couple that was two fat people in her class, the guy that was sitting in the row in front of her leaned over and was like, I can't believe they're making us watch this. This is so gross.
Right. Yes.
And with that, that was the moment where she was like, no, I have to go on the show. The people that are training to be doctors, the people who are medical professionals, they are repulsed by
Yep.
fat bodies. And if you
Yep.
don't find somebody who sees you as a person, you will
Right.
get inadequate medical care.
Absolutely. And it makes me, again, it boggles my mind. And what a horrible thing. And, she had probably dealt with that kind of snickering thing in her whole life. And now there you are in med school. And now you are knowing you are going in to help people. And you still feel like your body is not good enough. You need to change it because of one comment you hear from a fellow student who, frankly, I think should never have gotten a medical license. But guess what? It happens all the time. Because even as humans, as much as we want to think we don't have biases, we all do. And I mean, we could go into a whole other topic and a whole other podcast of internalized fat phobia. I mean, good God, I struggled with that my whole life. I've been conditioned by the media to be repulsed by someone of my size, living, eating, drinking, walking, talking, holding a baby, feeding baby, having sex, doing everything that typical, normal, quote unquote, air quotes, heavy air quotes, people do every single day. And I have been conditioned to be repulsed by my own body. So guess what? Do you think I want to look at myself in a mirror? To this day, I am 44 years old and I still struggle every day with it because I have been taught that I am less than.
Oh, and
Not by my parents, not by my family. They love me. Not by my amazing supportive friends, by society.
well, and the way that people talk to you as a fat person is so surreal. Like I remember I was working my first like big full-time job out of college, and I was sitting in the cafeteria, and this building was gorgeous, million-dollar paintings on the walls over a giant lake where you could walk out and do like it was designed to be beautiful. And so I'm in this very adult space as like the very first adult job I've had. And for lunch, I am eating a bowl of oatmeal and some green grapes. And so I'm trying to make the quote unquote healthy choice and do the action of presenting health so that other people
Right.
are judging me. And a woman still came over to me and was like, red grapes have more nutrients than green grapes. That's a better choice you can.
Oh my God.
So far. I can't even.
Yeah, that's the right reaction, Roxanne.
Oh my God, Roxanne. But like, okay, I wish that listeners could see us because like my reaction as a fat person and your reaction, they were almost different because I'm over here. Yep, that sounds about right. And Roxanne, like,
I,
because
this is a whole world with which I am not familiar, and I'm so sorry. I am so sorry this is happening to you guys.
you know what,
Oh,
though, Roxanne, I'm gonna say like it is so sweet of you to say that, but frankly, I am so grateful for people like you. I guess we should say that. I don't know how you classify yourself, but Roxanne is of a different size than Rachel and myself. But I am so grateful for people like you because you are such fierce advocates. Because we do not have enough advocates, even with Aubrey, even with so many amazing, amazing what am I trying to say? Social media folks who are finally speaking up. In the general realm, we still have so few advocates. So someone like you just saying that and getting so viscerally upset for us, that's awesome. Like, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, this is not a thing that you ever would have known or experienced. Like, nobody's ever said
No.
this to you. But that is not the only time that people at work, in my place of work, have come up to me and had comments about what I'm eating or my size.
Mhm.
Like, one time, I remember I got food poisoning.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
and I was at
The
work,
worst.
and my stomach was just turning. And I was like clutched over, like holding my stomach, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be so sick." And the guy sitting next to me was like, "Oh, did you eat too much?" And then I wasn't at work for 2 days because I was at home vomiting
up.
from the food poisoning. But that asshole felt like his comment was helpful and necessary.
Not something like, can I get you a cold cloth? Would you like me to call the
Right.
boss over? I mean, do you want me to take over your work right now so you can go to the
Right.
Uh,
Nothing helpful. Mhm.
No.
And I love that. That's such a good point because again, and this showed up on the show big time too. But where people think they're being helpful by saying some comment, and my favorite, I still deal with this to this day, and I'm sure you do too, Rachel. People think they're helping you when they say, "Well, what can I do for you? Can I be a workout buddy with you? Can I, you really, you just gosh, that last you really need that other cookie, and maybe if you just, I mean, all of these things that they say work for them or work for their sister or their brother-in-law or their cousin twice removed down the street in Peru. I don't know how many times people have come to me. And let me say, I'll be fully transparent, and Rachel knows this. Even as someone of size, I have been down the MLM train. I was working with I won't even name it because whatever. I was working with a very popular MLM that helps people with health. And I truly believed in it. I really, truly did. And did it help me? Yes, it absolutely did. And I made some great friends from it. And I will take that. But a lot of it I had to push away and just get rid of it out of my mind because it was, even though they tried so hard not to, and I really did believe it. They were one of the better ones, quote unquote, but they tried so hard and it's still so toxic, so hard, so toxic. You get in this, and I was in a group of people who were fantastic, but others that I've met, and when I went to like my large big convention, I'm going, oh my goodness gracious, what have I got myself into? And did I lose a ton of weight? You better believe it. Did I feel better about myself? You better believe it. But there were days when I was going, what am I doing? And guess what, folks? Here I am.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
surreal. And I don't get that anymore, but only because I have curated a life where I am not exposed to that. I have a job
Love
that lets
that for
me,
you.
yeah, I have a job that lets me work from home. I am very selective of who my friends are and who I spend time with. And I am now at a point in my life where if somebody is upsetting to me or making it difficult for me to maintain a relationship with them, I let that go.
Mhm. I love that for you, Rachel. I am so proud of you because like I knew you so long ago and you always were so independent and so laser focused on what you wanted. And I always admired that so much. And I wanted to be like that. And I would just soak that up from you because you never let anyone stand in your way and you never let anyone get you down. But I know it also tore you apart inside because it's painful. This stuff is so effing painful.
Oh, it
And
is.
imagine having that pain in front of 10 million people
Yeah.
as you're
You just
in your underwear.
You
Well,
just said it. You took it out of my brain, Roxanne. You just laid it. I was fantastic. Oh my gosh, we were in sync.
I
But
know.
the whole concept of here you are, like we talked about. I don't know if we said this earlier or not, but like, hi, you've got 24 hours practically to pack your bags and go. Otherwise, 10 other people might have your chance. Okay, bye, family. Here we go. Jumped in this room with cots or whatever it was. Here comes Jillian and Bob come bouncing in, and they look perfect with their spray tans. And you're looking around at all these people who also look like you. Everyone's dealing with their own forms of fat phobia and trauma and sickness and genetics, everything. And here we are. Now we begin. And it is so mind boggling to me that that it could last that long and people will return on. And yet, we live in a society. We like to watch people suffer. And it's so
And
sad.
the worst part of this, one of the worst parts of this for me is that even
Right.
as they lost weight, they still were not considered healthy or attractive or okay. So they talk in this documentary about how as they lost weight, when you lose that kind of weight, you have loose skin. It just is a thing that's going to happen. And so they would force the contestants into compression garments to hold in the skin so that they looked good for TV.
Yes, I remember that.
And like they're talking about all this. Suzanne had talked about from the time the show stopped airing, when her portion of the show stopped airing, and she got to get on a plane to go home. Between that last second of filming and her getting on the plane, she had already put on 20 pounds again.
Oh, 100%.
That they could not maintain this weight loss because they wrecked their metabolisms.
It's
and
not
that
sustainable.
this is not realistic. And even with all of this, like Danny talked in detail about how after being on The Biggest Loser, he went on another reality show where they gave him surgery to remove the loose skin so he didn't look like a Shar-Pei. And to know that even losing 239 pounds was not enough. He needed more surgery. He needed to
absolutely. And that's exactly right. And it's mind-boggling to me. I keep saying that. I don't know, but it is. It's mind-boggling. I think we touched on this earlier in the Ghost podcast, that the scale was a character on the show. The overlord lurking. And then, let's flash someone's numbers, big as life, across the screen. And here we are getting so excited to watch these numbers change. It is, looking back at the time, what were we doing? We were cheering. We were in our hundreds of thousands and millions of us around the world cheering, woo! And then the excitement of, can we get double digits again next week? How many weeks did Danny get double digits? 1 million. And now we're double digits, meaning losing more than 10 pounds a week. Oh, just so people understand where I'm going. That, as you said earlier, not sustainable, folks. Dangerous. When you said that number of how much Danny lost in the short period of time, and I am going, that is dangerous. And then what really pissed me off, really quick, sorry, before I forget this, I will, my memory's shot. Bob Harper, when he comes on, he's like, oh, their metabolisms don't get ruined. It's like totally fine. I'm like, what are you on about? He said something like that.
And Bob Harper, he and Jillian and everybody on the show is like, it's about health. You're gonna have a heart attack. You're gonna die. You have to lose the weight. Guess who had a fucking heart attack? Bob Harper.
Yes.
He had a heart attack at the gym and is only alive today because there was a doctor working out next to him who basically hit him in the chest so hard he broke ribs to restart his heart again.
Save his life. Yep.
Bob was 52 when he had that heart attack.
Younger than me.
Super young.
And so,
super young.
Yes, health is important. Yes, you should be physically fit. Yes, you should be thoughtful about what you're putting in your body, but it guarantees nothing. And Bob Harper is the example for that of, okay, yeah, you put nothing but fantastically healthy foods in your body and you work out 10 hours a day and you had a heart attack. Andy Dick, still going, lives on nothing but cocaine and ho-hos. Like, I just cannot believe
I'm using that. I'm stealing that. Sorry.
But like, to look at this and look at all these fat people and be like, oh, your health is so bad. Your health is so bad. You're going to die. Why don't you go there and have your heart attack quietly, Bob Harper? Leave it
Right. It bothered me too so much that when he talked about that, he talked about how scary it was and whatever, which, okay, legit, very scary. But he did not even then acknowledge that what he was doing to them could have caused that, or that what he was doing to them obviously could happen to anyone. Why didn't he say, you know what? I should have realized when I was telling all these people they're going to have a heart every single day. What I should have been saying is, guess what? I could have one. You could have one. Anyone in this room can have one. So let's all work together to maybe make some healthier choices. It would have been a more boring show, but it would have been better for all these people.
And
oh my gosh.
15 weeks of eating crap, doesn't your body lose the ability to digest normal food and mess up your excretory system and your digestive system? I mean, I've never been on an extreme diet. I don't know.
Anytime you're making any kind of dietary change, any kind of serious dietary change, your body reacts to it in a way that, like, you have to get your digestive system used to it again. So you're going to go through those problems. But even like the thing that as they're talking about these diets, they're talking about, we're watching the contestants and there's a very clear breakdown. There's Danny and there is Ryan and
Ryan.
and we're seeing them, they've gained back all this weight. And then there's Suzanne and Joelle and these other contestants that are super skinny. And you're like, well, they took
Right.
the weight off. No. Then they start talking about how thank God for Ozempic, because they were still fat up until they got on Ozempic. So
Yeah.
even the thin people, the people who managed to maintain weight loss, did not do it based on what they had through the show. They are doing it
Yes.
through medical intervention.
Absolutely. Like, that's such a great point, Rachel, because Jillian, Bob, the showrunners, everyone thought what they had was the secret sauce. Now, granted, let's say I don't think Jillian and Bob in there. That's another thing. I don't think Jillian and Bob would ever in their wildest dreams prescribe what they did to these contestants for their personal training clients. But oh, let's go there. Do you think that the gyms they work for, or even their own person, they would be fired so quick if they were doing these things? But guess what, folks? We're trying to get ratings. We're in a TV show now. We are essentially actors, Jillian and Bob. And you know what? You're going to do whatever it takes to get these people as skinny as possible and as quote unquote healthy as possible. Because guess what? We want people tuning in every week and we want ratings. And that is the bottom line. The bottom line is money, ratings, because it, at the end of the day, is a TV show. And
the very final moment of this documentary, they show some statistics. In 2004, when this show premiered, 32% of American adults were considered obese. And they put together this show with the idea that we're inspiring people to lose weight. We're going to make people so healthy. Everybody's going to want to work out. And then all of the employers that put in these Biggest Loser programs, 2025, 45% of American adults are considered obese. So they have made no change in the direction that they thought they did. They have made no impact in the way that they thought they did. It is infuriating to me that they can see this and see what they did to these people and see that they are still gaining all that weight back, that there is no permanent solution, and look at fat people and be like, oh, if you just made better choices. Well, if you had wings, you could fly up your own butt. I don't want to hear from anybody about my size ever again.
exactly.
But on that note, thanks for listening to Real Stories, Real Problems with your hosts, Rachel and Roxanne. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into reality TV and the documentary Fit for TV. Join us again next week for a glimpse into another financial problem and a documentary all about it. If you enjoyed our show today, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us a review on your podcast app. Thanks for listening. See you again next week.
Bye for now.